very beautiful morning to you once again. Welcome to Perspectives Unlimited, right here on Wales Radio 89.3 FM, your preferred wholesome radio. And of course, your number one family radio station in Oyo State. We're reaching you live from Wales Broadcasting House along Alafin Avenue, Oluyole State, Ibadan. Welcome to Perspectives Unlimited once again. Perspectives Unlimited is that platform where we go beyond the news to help you make sense of some of the stories across our various national dailies. My name is Toluwaleke Alli, and alongside with our analyst, we will be delving into the dailies and try as much as possible to analyze some of the stories to keep you abreast about happenings in the society at large. Welcome once again. You can watch us live on Facebook. We're live on Facebook right now at Wales Radio 893 FM fan page. At Wales Radio 893 FM fan page. Watch the video live, and of course, also ensure that you share with friends and drop your comments as we go on the show. And you can watch us live on YouTube as well on Wales Radio 89.3 FM on YouTube. Wales Radio 89.3 FM on YouTube. So go ahead to our YouTube page and watch the video live as well. Do not forget to also share the link of the YouTube video to your friends. Go ahead and, you can also go back to watch it later in case you're not able to meet up right now. Let's check out the front pages across some of our national dailies this morning, starting with the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Above the masthead, we begin serialization of Ayo Adebanjo's book, Telling It As It Is, on page 17 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Bandits have taken over 64 communities in Plateau. That's coming from Muftuang, and it can be found on page 27 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Borno losing ground to Boko Haram, and that's coming from Zulum as well, and that's on page 20 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. The lead story on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper: Presidency Ndume row over lopsided appointments claim. And it has two riders. Tinubu's appointment not reflecting federal character. That's coming from Ndume. And the second rider reads, Your outburst reeks of hypocrisy, selective perception. And that is from the presidency. That story can be found on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Rivers, court stops IBAS from appointing administrators in local government areas. And that's on page 30. Shetima inaugurates NISO board, signals new era in power sector reform. And it has a rider. It's a significant milestone in ongoing power sector reform. That's coming from Bileyi, and that's on page 11. Ondo farmers, youths protest over alleged killing of farmers by suspected headsmen. And that story can be found also on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. And the final story on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper: reps worry over food scarcity, rising prices. And it has a rider, begin probe of intervention funds to MDAs from 2017 to 2024. To read more on that story, check out page 11 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. On the front page of the Punch newspaper, Zulum says military failing to repel insurgents. Defense headquarters fires back. And that's on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. 11 PDP governors urge Supreme Court to hold Rivers emergency rule. and it has a rider. Governors finally file suit as President Nas gets 14 days to respond. And the story can be found on page 2 as well of the Punch newspaper. On the front page of the Guardian newspaper, 16,000 doctors exit in 7 years, a fiscal loss, says the federal government, and that story can be found on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. And finally, to the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, bandits kill 2, abduct 60 in Zamfara attacks. And that story can be found on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. But to read more, check out page 10 of the newspaper. Tinubu's appointment violates constitution. That's coming from Undume, and that's on page 17. Public Complaints Commission received 64,967 cases, resolved 15,077 in 5 months. Check out that story on page 15 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And the lead story reads, Borno losing ground to terrorists. And that's coming from Zulum. And it has a rider, 3 local government areas under Boko Haram's control. That's also coming from the Shehu of Borno. To check out that story, you can check pages 6 and 7 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Shatima launches agro-processing industrial zone in Kaduna. That's on page 13. Japa, 16,000 doctors left Nigeria in 5 years. That's according to the minister, and it's on page 16. Patients stranded as staff shortage cripples services at FCT Hospital. To check more of that story, check out page 28 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And the final story on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, oil price drop to affect roads construction, social interventions, others, and that's on page 31 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And these are the stories across some of the front pages of our national dailies this Wednesday morning. Joining me on the show this morning is our in-house analyst, Chukwemeka Munachi. So good morning, Chukwemeka.
Good morning, Tolu.
All right. Do not forget you can watch us live on YouTube at Wells Radio 89.3 FM, at Wells Radio 89.3 FM. We are live on YouTube as well this morning. And of course, you also get to put a call through to the studio when we get to the point that we open the phone lines. Let's start with the lead story on the front page of the Punch newspaper. 11 PDP governors urge Supreme Court to hold Rivers emergency rule. All right, and I'll take some of that story from the Punch newspaper. A total of 11 governors of the People's Democratic Party have approached the Supreme Court challenging what powers President Bola Tinubu has to suspend a democratically elected structure of a state. The suit filed by the governors also challenges the declaration of a state of emergency rule in Rivers State. While the media previously reported that the suit had been filed before the Supreme Court, the governor's suit was actually only filed before the Apex Court on Tuesday. This was exclusively confirmed to the Punch by the Director of Information and Public Relations of the Supreme Court, Dr. Festus Akonde. President Bola Tinubu had on March 18 declared a state of emergency in Rivers State and suspended Governor Siminalayi Fubara, the state deputy governor, Mrs. Ngozi Odu, and all elected members of the Rivers State House of Assembly for an initial period of 6 months. Following the suspension, President Tinubu appointed Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibaz, retired, as the sole administrator to oversee the affairs of Rivers State pending the period of the suspension. And meanwhile, the legislature of the National Assembly, on their part, supported the president's decision to implement the suspension. Aggrieved by the suspension meted out on one of its fellow party governors, 11 PDP state governors approached the Supreme Court to challenge the suspension, the declaration of state of emergency in Rivers, and the appointment of the sole administrator before the Apex Court in the country. And the plaintiffs in the suit are Adamawa, Enugu, Osun, Oyo, Bauchi, Akwa Ibom, Plateau, Delta, Taraba, Zamfara, and Bayelsa states. Chukemeka, I want us to, talk about this. Earlier in the week, there was also, protests also all around, all in the bid to ensure that this emergency rule that has been declared in Rivers State is taken off the table. Do you think that these governors have a case, actually?
Well, first of all, I have to commend them for not taking laws into their hands, by approaching the court for interpretation of whether what the president did was right or wrong. That's the most civil way to go, and the ball is now in the it is now with the Supreme Court to decide whether what the government, the president did was right or wrong. But from all indications, at the onset of that declaration, a lot of Nigerians came out to condemn that declaration, and we all know how the House supported it and what went behind the scene. All stories that came out of sharing money and everything, and suspension of a democratically elected as governor. And remember that Jonathan, when he declared state of emergencies in some states, he never removed the governor, and he did not suspend democratic institutions in those states. And what we are looking at this time now is a descent into authoritarianism, if you ask me. Because if these things are left unchallenged in the law court, we are going to have more of it. So I commend the efforts of PDP governors who have gone to seek redress in the court, which is the most civilized way things to do. Even though let's wait and see how the court will interpret what the federal government did in that regard. But I still believe that because some people are saying that Fubara was not removed, it was just suspended. Whether removed or suspended, they are all the same. He is not in charge right now. Ibas is in charge. And thank God that the court has told Ibas that you cannot appoint. Because if Ibas is allowed to appoint local government caretaker, the fears of many people that the battle is about 2027 will not be true. Because if Ibas is allowed, given unilateral power to do whatever he likes, he will likely turn that state into something else, which I still believe that the court will redeem their image before Nigerians, because that trust Nigerians are beginning to lose in the law court should be redeemed. And I think this is a very good example for them to actually tell Nigerians what actually is playing out in Rivers State. Is it unconstitutional or constitutional? Because I don't. The president declared the emergency rule before getting approval from the House, which whether it is the way to go, or must he get approval before declaration, or will he declare before getting approval? And is it legitimate or illegitimate?
Okay. All right. Now let's talk about Wike now, who is the other party involved in the Rivers crisis. Just yesterday, a video surfaced online where the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, was seen dining with the suspended Rivers State House of Assembly members.
Yes, you see, Tolu, I have said this repeatedly that what we are experiencing in Nigeria is state capture. The state has been captured. And I want you to read what Socrates said about the fall of democracy. And you see that description it fits into our narrative right now as a country. The lawmakers, now we all know that Wike is not hiding it, that the lawmakers are in his pocket, taking them to London, felicitating with them. I don't know what they did, that all of them are now in London. And look at as River State, it is the duty the River State people. You see, this thing has a way of backfiring, because right now there is no governance going on in River State, and the River State people are seeing these things going on. So during the time of election, I wonder how this party will be able to market themselves before Rivers people when there is suspension of whatever that is called governance in the state. And the people are out there, outside the country, enjoying themselves at the expense of the people. So, and it goes to show that the kind of democracy we are not practicing, we claim to be practicing, is not actually democracy. I have said it repeatedly here that in democracy, an individual cannot say that I made you a governor. An individual cannot control people because you just have one vote. Look at what is going on right now. You have taken these people to UK, and very soon they will come back. River State people will. I don't know how they will see them anyway, but it shows the world that Nigeria is not ready for this thing we are doing. We are not ready. A governor, a high-ranking minister in Iran, was recently removed from office. What did he do? He went on holiday somewhere in the Atlantic or somewhere like that, and he was removed. They removed him. Said, you cannot do this at this point in time. These lawmakers will still come back to Nigeria and receive a red carpet treatment. That is not democracy. That is not how to build a country. What are we showing our young ones? What kind of impression are we creating in their minds concerning leadership? When we say that youths are the leaders of tomorrow, what are we teaching them? With all this kind of unprincipled and unparliamentary behavior of our so-called leaders, what are we teaching our young ones to do when they get into governance? We tell them that, look, might is right, that an individual can hold a state to ransom. That is not democracy. That's why I said we are simply living in a state capture. We have already been captured. And that's why I keep saying that only God will save Nigeria.
All right, you can be a part of the conversation this morning by calling the phone lines 0916-893-1000, 0916-893-1000, or call 0916-893-2000, 0916-893-2000. Also 0915-333-4893, 0915-333-4893. Drop your messages on those lines as well, or your WhatsApp messages on 0915-499-893, 0915-499-893. 893. Do not forget, we're live on YouTube at Wales Radio 89.3 FM and also on Facebook at Wales Radio 893 FM fan page. So also drop your comments right there and we'll be sure to take them. Now let's move on to the Vanguard newspaper. Tariff war. US slams Nigeria over import ban on 25 items. Says Nigeria's policies create significant trade barriers that lead to lost revenue for US businesses. The US government has faulted Nigeria's import ban on 25 items, saying the restrictions are limiting market access for American exporters. This comes barely a week after President Donald Trump announced sweeping tariffs on goods entering the U.S., with Nigeria getting 14%. In a post on X on Monday, the U.S. Trade Representative, USTR, highlighted what it described as unfair trade practices faced by American exporters. And it says that Nigeria's import ban on 25 different product categories impact U.S. exporters, particularly in agriculture, pharmaceuticals, beverages, and consumer goods. So restriction on items like beef, pork, poultry, fruit juices, medicaments, and spirits limits U.S. market access and reduce export opportunities. In 2016, the federal government banned 25 items from importation as part of efforts to control imports. Now, in a bid for us to eat what we grow here in Nigeria, which of course is what the federal government has put in place since 2016, now seems like trading with the U.S. might, especially for those people who are local businesses that export and import and all of that. So now that the U.S. has slammed Nigeria for the import ban on 25 items, what does this mean for Nigeria? You
see, it doesn't mean well for Nigeria. But let me tell you something. In every bad situation, there is always a problem, and the solutions are in the same envelope. If African nations, let me not just dwell on Nigeria alone. If African nations will get their acts right, this is a wake-up call for them to look inward. But I doubt if we are ready to look inward.
Let's pick this call before we go on. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Aderonke from Muslim.
Welcome to the show, Aderonke.
Yeah, on the PDP governor selling the Supreme Court on emergency rule in Rivers. So I just imagine that are we still practicing democracy in Nigeria? Because the system of democracy we are practicing is whereby a governor is being suspended and replacing him with one military administrator. So I just hope that the Supreme Court will protect the sanctity of the Constitution without fear or favor. That's my own take.
All right. Thank you so much for calling on the show.
So it's an ample opportunity for African nations to look inward. You understand? When a nation begins, you see what Trump is doing. He said it. He said, make America great again. And he's doing it, and he's being greedy in doing it. And you don't blame him, because he wants to protect his own people, his own country. It is left for Africans to actually look inward and find out, why are we really dependent on these people? What is it? Because Africa remains the hub of everything that all the raw materials that these developed countries are using. Africa is where they're getting it. But we lack the infrastructure. We lack the basic technology to convert what we have into usable things. We can do it here. Technology cannot be transferred. Technology can be stolen, it can be copied, it can be faked. But at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you are standing on your feet. No country is truly independent if you depend on others for most of the basic things your citizens consume. It doesn't work that way. So this is an opportunity if African leaders will get it right. If they have proactive and visionary leaders, this is an opportunity for them to go back to the drawing board and put on their thinking cap and think outside the box. Because America is holding the world to ransom. Look at the way China is reacting swiftly against all this tariff, because they know their onions. Africans will go cap in hand begging. We don't need to beg. If we have what it takes to tell Trump, look, we can make do without this. But can we do that? Of course we cannot. Because our leadership does not come with responsibility. It does not come with, it's not about people who know where they are going. They don't even know where they are going to, not to talk of taking people along with them. That is why Africa is now in a mess with all these things that, look at a country like Israel. Look at so many countries, how they are reacting. Look at the EU. EU also is packaging its own reaction against what Trump is doing because they say they will not back down. Africans will back down because we don't have what it takes to stand up to Trump and tell him that, look, we can do without. Can we? We cannot. Our leadership lacks what it takes to actually galvanize the people. Because, look, let me give you an example. During the Civil War, I was a kid then, but I still remember what happened. There was blockade everywhere. Nothing was coming in. The few things coming from Bakassi Peninsula, Gowon handed Bakassi Peninsula to Amadou Ahidjo, who was the president of Cameroon at that point in time. And the Biafra was blockaded. You know what happened? Biafra started refining their own oil. Necessity is the mother of invention. Biafra started growing their own edibles. Necessity is the mother of invention. Biafra started, that was when I discovered that you can operate this radio system in a car. They were moving their radio stations all over the place. They were even communicating, they fabricated a lot of things because they knew that, look, we are facing a war of extinction and we must take care of ourselves. And they went back. You know, why we are lazy here is that we have all things easy. I keep saying it. That this thing we are talking about, consume Nigeria, patronize Nigeria, if I become the president of Nigeria today, by any stroke of miracle, I will lock all the borders. If we can't eat what we produce in this country, let the person die. What we are going to do in this, we are what we produce. Let's consume what we produce. That's the only way we can grow. But as far as we are dependent on other economies, we cannot go. So with this kind of sweeping tariff that Trump is inflicting, he has unleashed against the nations of the world, is a wake-up call for many nations to actually do the needful and put their economy on a sound footing. But can we do it in Nigeria? Of course not. We cannot do it because we lack the ability to do so. Not that we don't have the materials. We have the materials. But can we do it? Of course we cannot do it. So Trump is helping America. And in a nutshell, Trump has upset the apple cart. A lot of things are going on in the world today. That's the war, trade war all over the world. And he came fully prepared and is firing from every angle. And the world, many countries, look at South Korea. They are even, but the implication of what Trump is doing is that America is likely going to lose some of their allies. That distrust has already set in. But for Nigeria, we are not even in their reckoning. So it is left for our leadership to actually do the needful and look and you cannot galvanize the people if they don't trust you. That's why good leadership comes in. In a situation like this, when there is proactive leadership, visionary leadership, this is the time to galvanize the civilians, the populace, and tell them that there is fire on the mountain, but we will survive. And you are transparent. You have integrity. The people will follow you because they know you are taking them somewhere. Do we have such leadership in Nigeria? Of course, we don't have it. That is the bane of our kind of as democracy we practice here.
0916-893-1000, 0916-893-1000, or 0916-893-2000, 0916-893-2000. You can also call 0915 333 4893, 0915 333 4893. Let's go to the Daily Trust newspaper, where the vice president says that mismanagement, corruption is a threat to our progress, not federalism. Vice President Kashim Shettima has declared that nothing is wrong with the country's federal system, saying mismanagement and corruption are threats to our progress as a country. And he stated this on Tuesday during the 7th edition of Leadership Newspaper's annual conference and awards at the Banquet Hall, State House, Abuja, where he was represented by Alli Modibo Umar, the special advisor to the president on general duties.
Ask the vice president whether he understands what federalism is all about. Whether Nigeria is truly a federal. Are we practicing federalism? Okay.
Hello.
Hello, good morning, West Radio.
Hello, good morning.
My name is George.
Welcome to the show.
Point you just mentioned about the vice president that is corruption that is really destroying the nation. I ask myself, who are those involved in this corruption? He was not even the one that he was representing. The president. The are happening. Both of them are out. They are yet to get it. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Does he really understand what federalism is all about? Akin Wumi Adesina, the man at the helm of affairs of African Development Bank, he described our kind of federalism as feeding bottle federalism. We are not practicing federalism. What we are practicing is unitary system of government in the name of federalism. In a federal system of government, we are going to have state police, local government police. Do we have it? No. In the federal system of government, states will even have their own Supreme Court, have their own laws, because it's a state. The federating units will contribute to the center. But here in Nigeria, we put everything at the center, at the expense of the federating units. And that is why corruption is thriving in Nigeria. That's why when you talk of devolution of power, they get jittery. Because they want to be in control, in charge of everything. Imagine something happening in Ile-Ife. You have to carry the people all the way from Ile-Ife to Abuja. If it is a federating unit, do the federal government need to know what happened in Ife? The local government police will take care of it. Before, if it is outside there, they bring in the state. Kashim Shettima does not understand what federalism is all about. That's why he's making such a statement that it cannot prove. It's been economical with the truth, because Nigeria is not operating federal system of government. Go and check what it means to have a federal system of government and know whether our problem is that we are operating on a fundamentally flawed foundation. That's where we operate, and that's why Nigeria is going nowhere unless we go back to the drawing board and tell ourselves the truth. The good book says we shall know the truth and the truth shall set us free. Without us applying the truth, we are not free. You cannot continue to patch a house that is built on a faulty foundation. What do? You demolish the foundation and start a new structure to make it a structure that can last the test of time. So that is why federalism, the unitary system of government will never help Nigeria. If we are operating a federal system of government, there will be devolution of power. That's why Nigerians are crying for restructuring. The structuring means let's go back to how I met it when I was growing up. Things were not happening the way it is happening now. But because we have little men and women all over the place who want to be in charge, who want to control, that's why every day you keep seeing reasons why this. Look, before we go away from this discussion, in a federal system of government, states, minimum wage is irrelevant because states will pay according to what they produce. If we are practicing federal system of government, Zamfara, somebody working in Zamfara may be earning 20,000 naira a month. Somebody in your state here may be earning 35 because that is the federal structure. That is what your state can afford to pay that person. But when you come and lump everything together, that's why many states are insolvent. They can't pay. Many states were created not because of they are viable, but for political hegemony and control.
All right, 0916-893-1000, 0916-893-2000, or 0915-333-4893. Let's go on to the Punch newspaper. Natasha sues Ebonyi senator over TV interview, demands 5 billion naira. The suspended senator representing Kogi Central, Natasha Akpoti-Oduaghan, has filed a 5 billion naira suit against our colleague, Senator Onyekachi Onwa-Ebonyi, who represents the Ebonyi North Central Senatorial District over alleged defamation. The suit filed by Toluwaleke through our lawyer Michael Numa at the Federal Capital Territory High Court in Abuja seeks to declare as false and malicious the statements made by Ebonyi during an interview on a television station on March 6, 2025. Toluwaleke said Ebonyi described her as a gold digger, habitual liar, and habitual blackmailer during the interview. And among others, she prayed the court to declare as false, malicious, and defamatory Ebonyi's claims that she's a mother of 6 children from different men.
Mm-hmm. You see, Tolu, I watched the interview and Senator Onyekachi Nwebonyi, how he ranted against the former Minister of Education, Obieze Ekwesili. You know, called that woman a lot of unprintable names. And you begin to wonder, how did this man become a senator? You begin to wonder, because he's not refined. What he was saying on the floor of the House is okay.
Let's speak this call. Hello?
Hello? Yeah, these are the calling back.
Okay, welcome back.
Yeah. On the statement accredited to the Vice President Shetima, the corruption is the main problem, not federally. Is it not why we elected them here is that they should do the needful? So why is it now complaining? All what we expected from them is positive results rather than complaining. We all know that corruption has eaten deep in our system, in the country. So we expect them to correct the wrong. As we all know that greed, selfishness, and insincerity are the real problem of this country. So even the flaws in the implementation of federal character as well as nepotism are caused by insincerity and greed and selfishness. So they should do the needful and stop talking. We expect results. So not just that they should just be giving us unnecessary stuff. That's my take.
All right, thank you so much.
So I watched the interview and how he railed against Obieze Ekwesili, saying that Obieze Ekwesili was not supposed to talk to him like that, that he is a red cap chief. I laughed. Who gave him the red cap? You know, we have already bastardized culture. He say he's a red cap chief in Igbo land. What does he know about wearing a red cap? In a normal circumstances where things are done normally, Senator Onyekachi as a Nwebosi should not be given a red cap for whatever reason. The fact that you are a senator does not qualify you to be a red cap. There are some attributes you should have before they give you that red cap. But you know, these days anybody can buy anything and put on it. You can go to Dubai and buy a red cap and put on your head and parade yourself as a red cap chief. Let's come back to the interview. He granted to a national television. He called the woman a lot of unprintable names. And do you know, let me tell you, there's a group now in Ebonyi State, Association of Ebonyi Indigenous Sociocultural in the Diaspora, led by Ambassador Pascal Oluchukwu. They are now putting in place a process to recall him, because they said he's a disgrace to Ebonyi State, that he did not represent the state very well. What was he promised? Why was he crying louder than the bereaved? What was he promised? What was promised to give to him that he was defending Akpabio so vehemently, even at the expense of the people? They are not looking into what he has attracted to Ebonyi State. So this Natasha issue is opening up a lot of things. Ebonyi people are now trying to initiate a process of recall of Senator Ebonyi for his uncouth utterances on the national television, and they are telling him they are ashamed that he's a brand from that state. So, calling a woman that a woman has 6 children from different men, how does it tally with sexual harassment allegation? Why is the senator crying more than Akpabio? That's the question. But my happiness is that the people he claimed to represent are now initiating a process to recall him. So let's see whether they will recall him. And they said that the group alleged that rumors are even thickening that he may have been promised to replace the incumbent in 2027. Because if you look at the way he was shouting on national television, you know that this man must have taken something. Somebody must have promised this man to give him something. That was why he was shouting like that. So let's see whether the group accused him of abandoning his duty to defend somebody that notable Nigerians are asking for. What are they asking for? Obiezekwe is just saying, let there be a thorough probe into this sexual harassment allegation and find out whether it is true. When you took it up from there and called Obiezekwe, that Obiezekwe is a disgrace to womanhood. Imagine.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Am I on?
Yes, you are. Your name, sir?
Yeah. Abby. This is Abby. I'm calling from Monia area.
Okay, welcome to the show.
As a matter of fact, this regime, I don't know, the devil with a lot of controversies, distractions, and whatever. Fubara versus Wiki has not ended. Another one is coming, Akpabio versus, and so on. A lot of this that is meaningful to this country, that is better the loss of this and the people of this country, are lying there on the table waiting for assent. Yeah, distraction here and there. This family issue is like the operating family type of system of government. Because if you look at this Wiki versus this thing, it's more like family, friends, or whatever. Look at Akpabio and so many other things. We have a lot of bills there waiting for us. Let this distraction, to me, this regime, they have to think twice if really they are serving the people or they are serving their family. Have a nice day.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Abbey from Monia. All right. Let's move on to another story. This is in the Vanguard newspaper. The NSA warns against ransom payment to terrorists, kidnappers, others. The National Security Advisor, NSA, Malam Ribadu, yesterday warned against payment of ransom to terrorists, kidnappers, and other criminals. He gave the warning while receiving a fresh batch of over 60 rescued victims who had been in kidnappers' den for over a month, following intense military pressure in Kaduna. The victims, among whom was a deputy director in the civil service and a relative of Bishop Matthew Hassan Kuka, all hail from Zango Kataf in southern Kaduna. Speaking shortly after handing over the rescued victims, comprising 35 males and 29 females, as well as children, to the Minister of Defense, Mohammed Abubakar, Ribadu advised Nigerians, especially families of kidnapped victims, to stop paying ransom to kidnappers. According to him, payment of ransom is the engine encouraging the criminals to continue in their evil deeds. And this is coming at the same time when on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning, there's a call by two governors. The governor of Plateau State, Muftuang, came out to say that bandits have taken over 64 communities in Plateau. Borno State governor came out to say that they are losing ground to Boko Haram. All of these are not addressed. Meanwhile, a lot of people who have been kidnapped, whenever they come online to, search for funds or try to call their attention, it always eventually ends in them having to still pay to see their loved ones. Is the NSA addressing what it's supposed to address?
You see, I'm so disappointed in National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu. This kind of statement coming from him is something that is very shameful. The families, what has the state done to address the problem of kidnapping and banditry? You are the National Security Advisor to the President. What effort have you initiated to bring this thing to a minimal level? Nothing like that. The people that are vulnerable, their loved ones were kidnapped and they paid ransom, knowing full well that the state will never come to their rescue. And you are not blaming them. You are not telling them that they should not pay anything to the bandits, that it is because they are paying. That's why banditry is continuing. Have you tackled banditry? Have you brought the weight of your office to bear on banditry and terrorism in Nigeria? No. And you are not blaming the families. Do you know there was this man they kidnapped, retired Major General Sega. They even went. There was even allegation that they went online to crowdfund for him to be released. Now they are coming out. The soldiers are coming out that we didn't crowdfund. No ransom was paid. Who cares whether ransom was paid or not? For a retired Major General to be kidnapped in Nigeria speaks a lot. a retired general, kidnapped and kept in the kidnappers' den for weeks. It speaks a lot. An Israeli was kidnapped in the southeast or somewhere, and within a jiffy, this man was released. Why? Why was he released? And Nigerians will stay in the kidnappers' den for months, and they were not released. There is more than meets the eye. This administration must tell Nigerians actually what is going on, because we cannot continue to lose lives.
Let's pick this call. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Welcome back.
You see, Ribadu was an ex-military man. And for him to be, was he appointed to advise the masses? The people he's supposed to be advising, he has not been able to advise them to be able to quell this issue of kidnapping. He's not advising the people they should not pay money to free their people. Is he not aware of the number of people that have been killed from kidnapping? What sort of leadership are we having in Nigeria, for God's sake? Are we going to keep quiet and allow these people to continue to mess us up like this? We have to free ourselves.
Okay.
Hello. Hello, good morning.
Morning, sir. I'm Sherry from Mara.
Welcome to the show.
I agree with you that when you said that the retired general was kidnapped, really speak a lot. Yes, you are right. Because insecurity ravaging our country. What I read this morning that some bandits have taken over for community to give a chief security officer of that state, so they can mention that statement. And Governor Bono also said Bono is little catch Boko Haram. And yes, you do farmers protest over the killing of farmers by associated elements. These issues speak volume that Nigerian security architecture really collapsed. Even now, people live in fear. They can't sleep peacefully. The government should let us defend ourselves if they can't protect us. Because the federal government of the state is failed in that aspect hopefully, in aspect of the security sector. So I think the right time for them to do this. If care is not taken, people will be defending themselves. That's my own solution.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Sulaiman Sherry from Honor.
So we look at what's going on in Plateau. Look at what is going on in Ondo State here, at our backyard here. Now, the question, and they are coming up with a bill, the Indigent Status Bill. Indigent Status Bill means that when you live in a state for close to 10 years, you become an indigent. If you marry one of their own, you become an indigent. If your children are born in the place, you become an indigent. We don't need this at this point in time. And that's where I stand with Afenifere, demanding that this bill should not be passed. Because this is a way to plant individuals who are not indigenous to Nigeria. When you come in here and live in a particular place for some time, you become an indigent because you have lived there. But indigenship has a lot to do with central ties. It has a lot to do with culture. It has a lot to do with history. Back to what we are saying. Nuhu Ribadu, like the last caller said, was not appointed to advising Nigerians. Under him, the insurgency, kidnapping, banditry is spreading like wildfire. And our president and the vice, they are not in Nigeria right now. And things are, look at how things are escalating. Look at how a retired major general kidnapped. And we are now debating whether ransom was paid or not. It's a shame. I don't know how we are going to get it right, Tolu. At times, I ask myself, is it not better for somebody to be even ignorant of what's going on in Nigeria? Because the more you read these things, the more you talk about them, the more it depresses your spirit.
Okay. Hello.
Yeah, hello, good morning, Wells.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, my name is Salami. I'm calling from Ibadan here.
All right, welcome to the show.
You see, I'm worried that under this administration, the Boko Haram insurgency, banditry, everything is just becoming intractable. I don't know why. Honestly speaking. Now, can you imagine, in fact, we heard 16 communities or how many communities been taken over in Plateau. Zulu complained that military is losing ground. And we don't even know what is happening in Makodi and what have you. So it's like, for me, I can say that these Fulanis have already entrenched themselves in everywhere in Nigeria. And unfortunately, I don't know what our president is doing about. Honestly, because it's like, probably he might be doing something, but definitely what he's doing is not visible to me. As for Nuhu Ribadu, that's advancing Nigerians not to pay ransom to, let him wait until his son is kidnapped. Let him wait until his wife is kidnapped. We will not whether he will pay ransom to them or not. The type of torture they give their victims in their camp, may God not let any of those witnesses. Instead of government to take a affirmative stance on this something, they're not advising. What type of rubbish advice is that? Good morning, my people.
Good morning. Thank you so much.
Do you know the Southeast governors, the governor of Abia State, Oti, has called on Southeast governors, and Johannese has called all of them. If you cannot provide security for the people of the Southeast, they will know what to do. They will raise up their own. And look, Tolu, it will become dangerous if regions begin to raise their militias. This is what gave rise to militias in the Horn of Africa. Militias, and militias are like a mob. Nigeria is inching closer and closer to a situation where ethnic groups will begin to raise militias. And when that begins to happen, Nigeria is on the way to Kigali. Just mark my word. The president must do the needful right now and make sure that the army that we have, the soldiers on the ground, are protecting Nigerians. Because I don't see why headers will even be allowed to carry AK-47. Who gave them the AK-47? AK-47 is not something you buy across the counter. It costs a lot of money. Who gave it to them? Why should they be allowed to carry it and yet they go scot-free? A man called us sometime that he was coming down from the east to the southwest. That he had some cartridges, not gun. He was taken to somewhere and he spent 8 years in Agodi. Cartridges. But somebody will carry AK-47 and look, the protest that happened in Abuja on Monday, our Air Force they did aerial surveillance for people that are protesting. Why can't they use the same aerial surveillance for people in Plateau or on the forest to know where these headers are staying? Why can't they use it?
Since we're talking about the military now, the Borno State governor also accused the military of failing to repel insurgents.
There is a problem. That's what I'm saying. There is a problem somewhere which the government is not addressing. Why are they lackadaisical when it comes to handling issues of internal security? Why are they lackadaisical? What is there as a compromise somewhere? So that's the question. You have the army and they will look at people that came out on Monday for peaceful protest. Look at what the Air Force did and everything. Why can't they use the same dexterity, the same effort? Why can't they employ it in handling issues all over the? Why are headers allowed to carry AK-47? For goodness sake, in Nigeria, are they above the state? Who gives them the arm? And why are they allowed to go scot-free? And how many of them have been brought to book or arraigned?
Let's pick this call. Hello.
Yeah, good morning, madam.
Good morning.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, Mr. Emeka.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, yours is Alli. I will take off from your last statement that Tinubu, it appears that Tinubu doesn't know what to do. Tinubu knows what to do. I saw it sometimes last year or early this year that President Tinubu is working under the shadow of Buhari. They bought a Tucano jet. Why did they buy it? All these military hardware that Buhari bought and which Tinubu also follows suit. Where are they? They know what to do. You see, you have said it all. Let all regions, put their men. Okay, in the southwest now we have Amotekun. Let the southeast also put up their own local vigilante. Then south too. Then let force meet force and let's see who will come out victorious. Good morning, my brothers and sisters.
All right, good morning. Thank you so
much. I pray we don't get to that level. You understand? The people are...
But are we not getting there already? If the southwest already has their Amotekun call.
Amotekun is not yet a militia. A militia is deadlier than Amotekun. When we get... And the federal government is keeping quiet. The Nigerians are not cowards. They are just being peaceful. And these people think that Nigerians are cowards. That's why they ride roughshod over Nigerians. People in Ondo State, you know how many people they are buried there? Ondo people, are they cowards? They are not cowards. They know what to do, but they are waiting for the government to do the needful. And let us not go to that area of whereby every ethnic group will begin to have militia. When we go to that level, bye-bye to Nigeria. I'm sorry. Because that's where we are going to right now. We have a standing army. What are they doing? Why are these people treated with kid gloves? Can't they go to the bush and fish them out? Why must Nigeria look at Plateau? Plateau it has been painted in blood. The governor is crying. The other day it was Plateau. Plateau became a graveyard. Autumn was there as a chief mourner all through his term. And yet the same thing is continuing. For goodness sake, Nigerians are not cowards, but they are waiting for the government to do the needful. And I pray we do not come to a level where ethnic groups will begin to have their militias. It will not augur well for Nigeria.
All right, thank you so much. Adeomi Kazim Adekaz on Facebook says, good morning, well done from New Garage. Thank you very much, Adeomi Kazim Adekaz. This is the point where we have to leave now. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Tolu. May God save Nigeria.
All right, thank you so much to everyone who has been a part of the show this morning. As I would always say, wherever you find yourself, ensure that you do your best to put Nigeria out there in good light. God bless you. God bless Nigeria. I am Toluwaleke Alli.